Okay, so let me know if you guys can see this. Okay, let me see here. Let's go to the channel. Oh. So the stream is starting now. I'm gonna let some people kind of filter in. Here we go. All right, cool. How's the audio? Can everybody hear me okay? Great. Awesome. Let's hang out for just a second. I want more people to get in here. Oh, there are 10 people. I think we can get it up to at least 15 or 20, maybe more. What did everybody think? Did everybody watch the video, the previz video? If you haven't checked it out, hey Marcelo, how are you? This is the link to the previz. If you haven't seen it yet, check out what it is. This is great. This is great. A lot of people coming in now. This is good. Yeah, make sure you guys go and check out the previz demo first before you come in here, because that's what this is all about right now. Is the previz. Let's see. I think the link should show up in the description now too. And feel free also to share this this stream on Facebook. Get more people in here. We'll put it on Facebook right now. You know, Facebook hates YouTube links. I'm gonna put it on there and see if we can get more people. Come join us for a live stream. Live free viz demo on YouTube. Yeah, it just hates YouTube links. Is that the right one? Yeah, that's the right one. Is that it? Ooh, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Very cool. I think that's it. Let's see. That doesn't seem to be a live video. What's going on? I don't know. I'll just put the link to the channel. Here we go. All right, post. All right. Let's see how's our count going. Yeah, we're at 20 people. This is good. Great. Good. Cool. Let's see if we can get a few more people in here before I start. We've got about an hour that I can spend on this. Can I mocap my beard? I think that when they actually start figuring out facial mocap for people who have facial hair, then you're going to solve a lot of problems. There are a lot of actors out there who would love to do facial motion capture for cinematics in video games, but because you have to shave your face bare in order for motion capture, the facial cameras to actually read what you're doing. I think that actually restricts a lot of actors, and I was going to say actors and actresses. It restricts a lot of actors, and it restricts me, that's for sure. I wish I could do more facial mocap, but I really don't want to shave. Just that. They probably wouldn't find it worth paying me to shave my beard, and so I don't know. You'd think that they could figure that out. As for mocapping the actual beard, I'm gonna start working on that. I think that's I think that's phase 4 of the mocap, the mocap action mocap thing. Yeah, there's a ton of freedom in not just motion capture, but also in Unity, and pick your tool of choice. I mean, when you just start working in 3D using motion capture, it's like suddenly you start coming up with all kinds of new wild ideas that you couldn't do before. You always wanted to do your romantic comedy that takes place on the moon. Who in their right mind would fund something like that? Now you can just mocap it and then get a moon asset and do it. So, okay, we got 30 people. That's enough. So, hi everyone. Uh, so my name's Eric. As you might know, I'm a stuntman, and I've been doing stunts for the better part of about 20 years now. And when I started out doing stunts, I was really doing it as a filmmaker. Nathaniel knows this. Nathos the legend. He was there in those first days of this back in Reading, and we were so passionate about doing Hong Kong style action scenes on zero budget. And what we basically did was we figured out how to make an entire movie from beginning to end. Everything from the writing, the choreography, the camera work, the performance, obviously, and the post production, the sound design. It was all catered toward the action because we just wanted to do cool action movies. And so we developed a process that was very much kind of borrowed from Hong Kong film. People like Sammo Hung and Jackie Chan had perfected it. It was a style that kind of came from the earlier Shanghai studios in the 30s, basically taking a low budget studio and making something that's globally appealing. We did that, but there's only so much you could do with it. You could still, with no budget, you have to fight in the forest. You have to fight at the same building. You still have to fight in your buddy's backyard. Production design costs money, and that was always the limitation. And so the question for us was always, how do we do these high concept ideas, and how do we bring them, how do we put them on the screen? That was always difficult. And so we just sort of resigned ourselves to making really cheap looking action movies, just, with action as the star, and just writing scripts that could cater to that, where we could actually do that stuff. And then I got into the previz market because as a stunt guy, I also knew how to shoot and edit from all these years of making films with these guys, with the stunt people. And when I started prevising, I had kind of an eye for action. I could shoot and edit as good as anyone else at that point because I'd done it nonstop for 15 years at that point. And I previewed something for Die Hard, Good Day to Die Hard. Then did something for Altered Carbon, and did a few other things too. And that was sort of like proof that we had a process that worked, because these previses looked really good, and they were selling the action team. They were selling us as a team that was going in, and a piece of us would be going in there to make the action. And these previses are great selling points. However, you are still limited with previs. It's the same way that you're limited with old stunt people videos, where you have very little money to make a video. I mean, you're really just being paid for your labor at this point when you're doing previs. You're not being paid to, and just so people know, previs is basically just like a blueprint. It's a video animatic of what the action should look like in the end. And when the producer comes to you and says, okay, I want you to previs a fight scene in the hotel, you go to the gym, you put some foam blocks up, you make something that kind of like has the geography of a hotel, maybe. You put a wall of cardboard boxes up, and you say, there's your hotel. And that's as good as you can do, because as a previs team, that's, you can't really go much better than that. Otherwise, you have to get a hotel, and at that point, you might as well shoot the movie there. So it doesn't make sense to do live action previs in any other way. So you do the live action previs, you shoot, your hotel fight scene for a few days. Your utility stunt guy is going to be the camera guy most of the time. They usually pick stunt performers that do camera, and then utility stunt guy goes home and edits the scene. And producers now are very used to having very polished previs, and so you have to do a solid edit. You got to do a sound design. Sometimes they even want VFX, like squibs, or they want muzzle flashes. They want coloring. They need music. Sometimes if you put music on, they get upset. You never quite know. It's always kind of a crapshoot. when you're making these previz videos, you don't really know which, especially if you're working on a TV show where every episode might have a different director. You just don't, you can't even use the same process across the whole thing. And so, as a stunt coordinator, as a utility stunt guy, doing live action previs has these limitations where, okay, I'm going to have my utility stunt guy shooting and editing this stuff, and the director may not even like the shooting and editing. He may not like any of those decisions. He may like them, but he may not use them. You just don't quite know unless there's a very detailed conversation that, you know, we're shooting this for, you know, we're prevising for the camera angles, we're prevising for the editing, which on a big TV show, you're probably not going to be doing that. You're probably just going to be prevising your action and kind of giving your best guess on how it should be shot and edited. So anyway, long story short, fast forward, I've done some motion capture now for God of War, thanks to the Tekken videos, learned how motion capture sort of worked in that environment. Santa Monica Studio taught me so much about that, and there were some other great mocap teams like at 2K, and they taught me how mocap works because as a tech kid, you know, I grew up in tech and I was a computer programmer before I even became a stuntman. You know, my first job was a PHP and Visual Basic and HPUX programmer, and I was doing MySQL databases and making a community college's. You know, I was doing the course lookup system and all this stuff, and so I kind of understood tech. And when it came to mocap, I started seeing that there was this huge connection between stunts and tech, because now you can kind of use your body to program a computer, essentially. I mean, it's kind of a dumb way of looking at it, but you're sort of making a game with your body. You are using tech with your body. And as I kind of came to understand the stuff, I was at E3, I saw the XN's booth, and a business partner and I, Zach Swartout, we went and bought a couple suits from XN's and started tinkering, learning how to motion capture, how to bring that stuff into Unity, and you've probably seen a few of those demos. There are a few on the YouTube channel already. None of them are very polished because my Unity skills were pretty much non-existent. I don't know anything about 3D modeling, even though I played with it once upon a time. It's come so far where those skills are gone, are useless now. So as I kept playing with it, I realized, when you motion capture, and I'll walk you through the process, but long story short, when you're motion capturing using this system, and the XS system is transportable, you can put it anywhere, you can put it in a gym. When you mocap with that, you can shoot and edit it in Unity however you want, and you don't have to reshoot the action. And I'm going to explain that in just a minute via, I'm going to actually show you all the projects and all of the tech that actually goes into this stuff. And I'll start out first by opening up the XN software, and this is the motion capture software. Now, just as it opens, I'm going to explain. This is an XN suit. I'm wearing it. It's a full body, so I would show you. It's kind of hard to give a full, this is basically it. It's markerless, so there's no camera system, so there's no way that the markers can be hidden. The sensors are inertial. They all get piped down into a router, which I just have down on the ground right now. Not tethered. It's wireless. And there's also a pack in the back, which can record up to 12 hours of motion capture data out on the field. You don't even need a computer to do it. XN's NVN link system captures at 240 frames per second, which is extremely nice when you want to do slow motion or anything like that. So I'm going to show you the XN system now. This is what it comes up with. I'm going to do start motion capture, and got the name there. I'm going to load my sizes so that it has the right ratio and everything. All the markers are on. I'm not going to show you how this whole thing sets up. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Click OK. All right, we've got an avatar there that looks a little bit wonky. That means we need to calibrate it. So we're going to click here. I'm going to do hands-off calibration so that I can do it without anybody here. Calibrate, start, and it's a very simple process. This is how quick calibration is. So I hit start, stand here for 4 seconds, 4 and 1, 2, 4, and walk 8 steps. I stand here. This is called the in pose. Okay, now it processes all that. What it's basically doing is it's taking all the data that it collected from the inertial sensors and it just dumps a bunch of data into the router, into the software. Software is now taking all the inertial data and building a skeleton out of it, building a T-pose essentially. Um, I know that my technical jargon is not going to be right, and there's probably going to be someone from Extends who's going to see this stuff who's like, it's all wrong, it's all wrong. Sorry. Go to the Extends website, and they have all the technical jargon on there right now, but I'm kind of like, this is the dumb stuntman's understanding of it, right? It's taking all this stuff from these sensors, it's putting it in there and making it human, so it can look like me. Otherwise, it's going to have, like, the ratios are going to be off, the proportions are going to be wrong, the hand's going to be over here, and then after it's done processing, after calibration's done, you're basically set. And calibration will last you for most of the day. You could probably recalibrate, halfway through the day if you want. If you take the suit off, obviously you're going to want to recalibrate. If you also, since the sensors, I'll kind of show you. These sensors are held together with Velcro. I've not seen them move around really, except for sometimes the hands move around a little bit. The headpiece, if this comes off, you're going to want to recalibrate, obviously. It's a very smart system. It can kind of figure out where things are over time, too. And I really haven't had any issues with it regarding, slippage or things suddenly being wonky, as you've seen on, with optical stages, because optical systems are trying to visually see where everything is. This one is done via inertial data, and each one of these sensors has, 3 components. So there's basically an accelerometer and a gyroscope and then a magnetic north. So, okay, so I'm going to say, this is my Z north. Click that. I have to walk around for 10 seconds. And it's calibrated. Okay, now you'll see I've got an avatar that's basically doing everything that I'm doing now. No sensors, no T-stance, that's correct. But it's in-pose. So in-pose is this. I don't know why, that's just how the software works. But every animation, I put a T-pose at the beginning of it so that it's properly configured for T-pose rigging. And that's I don't think it does a pose. There were some other. I think you can do other poses in this too, but I just do a T-pose. All right, we're ready to capture. So we'll do a new recording. That's it. I just hit record. So I'll just do a kick. Ooh, that wasn't very good, but I don't care. Bang, bang. That's what happens when you're in a small space. You end up kicking something. And I'll do a jump. Right? I'll lay down on the ground. And that's it. So we'll stop recording that. Name it Awesome Action Demo. Okay, now that we've motion captured the file, I'm going to close the live session. Yes, I'm going to close it. Okay, I'm going to open it in here. Here's our awesome action demo. So what it basically just did, it took all that sensor data and made an animation with it. Simple. All right, but it's all kind of raw data at this point. So all it did was it just took a bunch of data. Now the software needs to take all that data and figure out exactly where all the joints were. So that's the processing part. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to reprocess in HD. We're at single level. You can do multi-level for stairs. No level for, I actually don't know what that's for. And for soft floor, if you're on squishy pads or something. People have told me that in the past, Xsens had issues with jumping, sitting, things like that. Those issues are gone. The software has fixed that stuff. You can process for multi-level. You can process stairs. We did a rope climb. We've done wire pulls, backflips, all that stuff. There's not really any issue anymore with that. Okay, I'm going to process at single level because I'm just on the floor. Okay. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to make a new, let's see, edit, do a new file with that. Just call awesome action. Okay. I'm only going to process that because it takes a little bit of time to process. Click the processing, HD, single level, start. And it's going to go. And I think for about every second of motion capture, it'll take maybe 10 to 15 seconds to process it. And what we're doing now is we're just taking all that data that was collected by the router, by the software, and it's just recreating the skeleton much more precisely than what you saw. So without processing, the feeder kind of slip around. There's going to be some gliding. The joints might move a little bit more than would be natural. What it's doing right now is it's taking all that data and it's making it look as realistic as possible and as close to what I actually did as possible. And that will be our final export. And in optical motion capture, this would be there's the processing, retargeting, solving, and all that stuff. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, and that's a lot of work that you can continue doing with something like this. But this basically solves the issue of figuring out where joints are, right? There are no occlusion issues, right, because there's no camera, and so it's really quick. We can actually do a really quick turnaround time. If we do 8 hours of mocap, or let's see, if we capture, say, let's say we capture 10 minutes of motion capture footage and we want to process it, takes 100 to 200 minutes, and then it's done. That's what we would deliver to the client. Let's see. I'm reading some. I'll read some questions while I let's see. Let's see. Oh yeah, we got a question from Giza Power Plant. What's the shortest or fastest previz you've done? I did some previz for Man Who Feels No Pain in India, and that was a fast previz because we were doing a very basic reference previz because we told the director that if we're the ones shooting the action, if we're performing it, shooting it, and if we have a say in the edit, then we don't need to really worry about the previz. All we got to do is get ideas down. And so we managed to pump out a 25-minute scene, 25-minute edited scene, and I think it took 6 days when we did that. So ratio-wise, yeah, you're talking about 4 minutes a day. Short previz. I've never done a short previz. I mean, it's not common for people to ask for a short previz. Let's see, what else we got? Let's see, you threw down a God of War. Thank you. What other questions do we have? Let's see. Somebody mentioned Tekken. Big fan of Tekken content. Keep it up. I would love to keep doing Tekken content. That stuff takes a long time, man. I mean, that's a lot of editing time. I would have loved to keep doing that. There are some that are still unedited, but I just don't have time. It takes 2 or 3 days to edit one of those videos, and someday I'll pay someone else to edit it. For now, I don't have the money to pay someone, and I don't have the time. I'm in that spot. But there'll be a couple more. What was it like working on God of War and Mortal Kombat 11 for the mocap work? I can't really talk about Mortal Kombat 11, which hurts because I love that was awesome. That was really awesome. It's really awesome because I love Mortal Kombat because that was the fighting game that was funny. That was the one that you played when you wanted to remember Big Trouble in Little China, right? Like if you grew up on B movies the way that a lot of us did, like that game is fantastic. And Ed Boon and John Tobias really hit the nail on the head with the references, and it was really awesome working on that game. That's all I can say, unfortunately. Let's see. Yeah, it's great. You don't even need to bring a computer with you. Yep, it's true. You don't have to have a computer with you when you're motion capturing. You can literally just start recording on the pack, and you get 12 hours of recording time. So if you want to go skydiving with this thing, you can do that. If you want to go bicycling, if you want to run a marathon, you can mocap that. If you want to go to the shooting range, put this thing on, do it. Or put it on someone else who does that stuff. It's like really cool data that you could get with this. You could put it on soldiers. You could put it on. You could put it on. Theoretically, you could put it on a child if you could get the suit right. You could do so much stuff with this, and that's we're just kind of we're just sort of touching on the beginnings of this thing. Let's see what else. Can the post processing be batched? Yes. The entire post processing workflow can be batched. You can just take the entire folder of your output from the MVN software, HD process in any level that you want, and then it will. Oh, sorry. There's going to be some buffering right now. Let's wait until the processing is done, and then I'll answer some of these questions. Let's see. Where are we? There's a lot of good questions in here. Oh, I think we're done processing. Great. So now I have my computer back. Great. Just to answer that question real quick. What was the question? Sorry. I'm all over the place right now. Processing be batched. Yes, you can take all of the mocap data that you shot, put it in a folder, process the entire folder. Sorry, real quick. I'm just... Okay. And let's do one more question here. Export it. Yeah, it does FBI. I'm going to show you. Price. Yeah, the price. You could talk to Extends about that. They're upwards of 15,000 per piece, and the software is between 4,500 and 9,000 a year, I believe. Do I still hang out with my stunt people buddies? Of course I do. One of them is in chat right now, Nathaniel. Mikey Stig. How much? Yeah. So, how sensitive are the sensors? Can it detect minor movements? Yeah, it's actually very good at detecting minor movements. I could show you live real quick again. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Sorry, I can't. You just have to take my word for it. Okay, I'm going to close the live session. So now we've got our output here. All right, so we're back to this. We've got our processed live output. The feet are nice and planted. They're not really sliding around anymore. Oh, the foot got a little bit wonky there. Oh, it's all right. It happens. It just goes back to normal. I mean, that's something you just delete those keyframes and then it fixes that. That kind of stuff is really easy to fix. So I'm going to take File, and I just go to File, Export. And you can do just the selection if you want, but I'll just export the whole file. You have three options here: BVH for Maya, C3D for 3D Studio Max, FBX for whatever else. I like to do FBX because I'm going to be doing Unity. I'm going to Options. You're going to overwrite the first frame of the T-pose because that's going to be standard for your rigs a lot of the time. Output preset, you have to put skeleton. And then this stuff, I just leave it. Export. And that's quick. Again, this can all be batched. Can all be done all at the same time. So it'll do the processing and the FBX export or whatever file format export you want. And question, can you stream to Unity? Absolutely, and I'll show you how that works. How's my stream doing? Actually, looks like it's okay. All right, so I'm going to close. How's our stream health doing? I think we're okay. All right, I don't know why that's doing that. Can everyone still read me? It says it's buffering on my end, but it says it's good health. Okay. All right. I'm not worried about it then. Okay, cool. So you can stream this into Unity, Unreal, 3D Studio Max, Maya. Not only can you stream it live into 3D Studio Max, into these programs, you can stream it over a network. So if you go to Options and Network Streamer, you can pull up, you can add an IP address for whoever you're sharing a network connection with. And as long as you guys are listening, as long as that person's listening to the same port, they will be receiving the mocap data in. That person will receive the mocap data into their 3D software, and they can actually watch the avatar move around live. So yes, your Xsense avatar, your Xsense suit will be moving live on their end. It could be across the world. And the nice thing about that is, even though a lot of animators are able to direct performers who are just wearing a Velcro suit, some animators want to see the some people want to see the avatar, how it's actually going to look. That's actually really helpful. So when you see how all the armor is and the proportions and all that stuff, then you kind of know better how to direct your performer, right? And so, for example, if you know if your character has a lot of armor on, right? As a performer, I might go on the set onto the mocap stage, and the director says, "Okay, you got a lot of armor on." And you go, okay, I got a lot of armor on. I'll do it like this. And then later on, they realize, oh, that armor weighs 200 pounds. It shouldn't have been like this. It should have been like this. And that might have been more easy to tell when he was looking at the avatar actually moving around. But if you're just looking at the performer, those things, sometimes you miss those details. So I don't know why my stream is okay. If my stream is okay on your end, guys, then I'm not gonna worry about it. Somebody just say stream good if it's good. Otherwise, I think we'll be okay. I'm gonna keep going. So we've exported the FBX file from Xsense. If anybody, great, thank you. If anybody's got other questions about Xsense, I'm happy to answer them later. I'm gonna move on to Unity now. I'm gonna close Xsense, and I'm gonna open up the Unity project that I actually did the export in. Now, if you haven't watched the previz demo, please watch it, because that's what we're referencing here. I'll post the link again in the chat. There it is. Make sure you watch that so you can understand what we're talking about here, because this is a 3D previz. And I'm opening up Unity right now, and then I'll share the window once it's open. So we've got our FBX file, and I'm not actually going to use the real FBX file. I'm just going to show you the file, the project that I actually worked on for the previz. So here's our project, and let's go to the bar fight, bar brawl. All right, so this one, what we're doing is we've got a timeline component in Unity and Cinemachine 2.3.3. And what that does when you combine those together is you get something that kind of looks like After Effects, but it's After Effects on steroids. Because now you're not just shooting it, you're not just editing. You can actually reshoot, and you can move. Anybody who uses 3D software, this is nothing new, but as a filmmaker, it blew my mind that if that table needs to move, I can just move it. I was like, what? I can just do that? Yes, and I can animate it if I need to. If my shot's not looking good, I can move the table, or I can move my shot. So these are our mocap performers. This balding, bearded guy is me, and this fellow sitting down, this peaceful-looking gentleman, is Rory. And this is also me, and this is also Rory. We just mocapped twice, so we've added 2 extra performers into the scene for free, because we just did the mocap for all of it. And then I went and downloaded these assets. The whole thing cost me, I think, $25 to get everything. I think these Western dudes were free, or maybe not. I don't know. I think the whole thing's $25 in the end. So I import those. I import all the motion capture animations, set them to humanoid. I have to fix the hips on them when they get imported. That's a whole other discussion. And once you do all that, you start making these timelines. And again, I'm not going to get into how this is all done. That's a whole 2-year course. I've been doing this for 6 months playing with Unity, and you guys have probably seen some of the samples that I put out, and they're rough. And now that I've gotten support from the Unity people, Lydia, Adam, Mike, you're really helpful. figuring all this stuff out. The guys at Sawmill too, extremely helpful. And I learned how to do Cinemachine, and so basically Cinemachine allows you to shoot your motion capture or to shoot any animation in Unity as if it's a movie. Right, so that's what we have here on this timeline right here. We have all of our camera angles. That's the Cinemachine brain. That is just our main camera. We have added a Cinemachine brain to this. I put a post-processing filter on it, so we have motion blur. You can change the motion blur. You can change the color grading. If I go up into, like, if I go to the main camera and see the post-processing, here's the volume, right? If I want to change the color grading of the whole thing, I can just kind of tweak this, change the gamma, make it kind of red like that. The whole thing will look like that now. I could do other things too. I could, let's see, I can add motion blur. I can do a much higher motion blur. You won't see that until the export. You can increase the bloom, so you can make it kind of this like explosive kind of. That's not working. I don't think you see it until the end. Anyway, that is an option. Again, I'm learning. Grain, all that stuff, right? That's the global. Then you can change the individual parameters for the cameras, right? If I have this camera angle here, which is literally a camera asset that's right there. This is camera 01, and you'll see on the right window over here, the live window, when I move this camera around, it changes the angle. I can also animate that camera however I need to. I animated at the beginning to go along the piano and kind of reveal these guys, have a nice time. And this guy comes up behind and starts a fight, right? And just do all of our motion capture. And then I just put the cameras wherever I need to put them. You know, I just shoot this like I shoot regular action scenes. Okay, that guy hit the piano. He's looking. What's he looking at? Oh, this guy's coming in and suckers him with a punch. Let's get the block. Bam. Throws him against the piano. Makes a funny sound. And I did sound design in this. You can do that. Look, I did the whole sound design in Unity, which is totally possible. But I decided to instead take it into Premiere and do it. And then we throw him onto the table, boom, and he's done. All right. Now, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 camera angles on this. All right. So let's say you as the previz editor, oh, we've got this rogue guy over there, I don't know why. It doesn't really matter. Let's say as a previz editor, you want to take that over to the director, and the director says, yeah, that's good, but you know what? I just don't think we're going to shoot this shot like this. I think it's going to be a dolly. I think it's going to be a top shot. You say, oh, okay. Well, how about we just set up a top shot for you right now. Let's just go back to O2. There you go. There's your top shot. There. Now you can watch it again. Oh, wait a minute. That looks terrible. I don't want a top shot. That's right. That's why I picked this shot, Mr. Hotshot Director. That's why you let your stunt guy pick your angles, right? All right, cool. But actually, you know what? I just want to hang out on this opening shot. Okay. So I'll just delete camera 2 and just drag camera 1, and fine. You want to just hang out on there? That's fine. There. Boom. That's not a bad idea. And then he says, well, you know what? I don't even want to cut. Can we just do a camera move? Like, how can we just go from here as a camera move to there? You say, yeah. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take camera 2, blend it into camera 1. Unity is going to figure out the rest. And we are way over there. So boom, look at that. It was one shot. Yeah, it glitches a little bit at the beginning, but you got to let it process. Look at that. I didn't have to do anything. All I did was I blended this shot with this shot, and it figures it out. Right? And then you can see I animate some of these too. That one I did a small tilt upward. You can accomplish that with a blend as well, but I chose animation keyframes for a lot of it. You can also do depth of field with these, right? So we have VCAM 04 here. We have a depth of field right here. I can change this focal length so I can capture that guy in the background a little more clearly. Or maybe I just want him to be a blur, right? Okay, I'll just make that totally blurry and make sure that my focal distance is on a bearded bald dude. And if I want it on Mr. Rory here, I can just change the focal length to that. If I want to change the focal length, I would just duplicate camera 4. I would duplicate that. If I want to rack focus to him now, I'm going to take camera 4. I'm going to clone the profile, and I'm going to do, where are you? I'm going to focus on, oops, I actually have to bring this now into here. Sorry, I'm learning. Here we go. Camera 4, I'm going to bring it in here, shorten it a little bit. I'll bring it over. I'm going to blend it. So we have our focal length. We have our focal length on Rory here, right? Boom. Rory gets hit, and then I want to rack focus to me right there. I want to rack focus to me. It's a little bit finicky. Bear with me here. Zoom in. Click that one. No, nobody said it was perfect. Basically, I'm just trying. There it is. Drag that out there a little bit. I'm going to rack focus to me right there. So I've got this shot is focused on Rory. This shot's focused on me. It's going to rack. Boom, boom, like that. Now we have a cinematic shot. And I accidentally blended it into that one. All that can be done extremely quickly. Normally, you would have to go and reshoot your previz if you wanted to do that. You don't have to do it now. You've already shot your previz. Your performers are done. So you don't have to go back and reshoot any camera angles anymore. You can just grab whatever camera angle you want and it's done. You can even edit performance, right? Like I had some issues here where we were sort of drifting a little bit, which happens sometimes with inertial suits, and then we were just too far away on this punch. This punch right here, boom, that one didn't look like that. Watch, I actually made an edit. If I mute this edit track, look at where the punch is. I totally whiffed that. No, he whiffed it. It was his fault. It was his fault. Whiff. Look at that. Terrible whiff. But I just moved him a little bit. Boom. It's perfect. No reshoots needed. The whole point of this is to show that you don't need to go wasting time shooting performers, redoing the same previs over and over and over in order to just do a camera angle change or an edit change. The other thing too, the director or the DP, or if the editor's already been hired, he can come in. They can do this themselves. They can go into Unity or work with someone who's who knows Unity, and they can just shoot and edit the thing right there before they've even started production, before they've even rolled camera. Then they have a previs that they like, and they actually have a previs that they like. It's not one that you did because you don't know if they're going to want your camera angles or your edit. You have no idea. All you know is that they're hiring you for your action. Now, maybe they're using you for your camera angles and editing. Most of the time, they're not. Most of the time, they just want your action. Now, you can help them shoot and edit the action before you even roll camera. And then they have a blueprint. Then they can figure out a shot list. They can actually shoot this like a Hollywood movie. You can literally put, you can put you can, here, we'll do some machine, we'll create a virtual camera. You could put, you put one camera. Let's see. Let's put one camera on this guy. Yeah, this guy. What's he doing? Let's focus on him. We'll name this close up, right? I'm not going to go too much into this, otherwise we'll be here all day, right? So let's say we want to cut to him. Oh, let's put it here. We need a shot of that guy. Let's get a cutaway of that guy. What's he doing? Oh yeah, look. See? Just like that. So they can shoot and edit it however they want. And if they don't want to use Unity, they can use something like Neuralize, which allows you to go in using the HTC Vive, put a virtual reality headset on, import the assets from the scene. Maybe you even took a photo of the set using a LiDAR camera, so you actually have a 3D photo of the set that you're actually going to be using. You put that in there, so they put the VR headset on. They're already in the set. Okay, you import the FBX files, the whole mocap scene, right? You put the whole fight in there. And you bring in a bunch of assets, which you can do within Neuralize. You can bring in tables, chairs, whatever you want to do, or whatever you've made already from whatever your 3D program is. And then the director and DP, they don't even have to be in the same room. They just both need an HTC Vive wherever they are. They can meet and shoot and edit that scene in VR if they want. If they want to prototype it like that. And a lot of DPs don't want anything to do with something like Unity. But you put a VR headset on them, and now they're actually walking around the fight scene, and they're saying, "Wait, pause. Let's get a camera here." So they'll set up a virtual camera right there using the hand sticks for the Vive, and they'll shoot it. Boom. Export the MP4 file. Then they get a bunch of MP4 files, and then they can edit that. That's another option. Right? You can also shoot this with a virtual camera using your phone. There's a way to do VCam with your phone, so you can go and shoot this whole thing, and then walk around the scene with your phone, and then that will be your camera angle position in Unity. Have I convinced you yet? And we've just barely scratched the surface of this stuff. I mean, you can edit performances in ways that you just can't do in live action. So if I go to the robot fight scene, well, let's go to the kickboxing fight. I'm not going to say what I did with that. We go to the timeline. Now I've got this move where I do a flash kick. I'll just play it real quick. I do a flash kick and do a scoop right there. Right? So he goes up, flash kick, this guy, and just as he's about to land, he lands on that leg, drops down into a back sweep. I didn't actually do that. Here's what I did do. First, I did the flash kick, right? And I landed. That's what it originally was. I landed. Awkward landing. Then I did a back sweep. And all I have to do in Unity is find a place to blend these two together, right? If I don't blend, it looks like this. Right? There's no blending there. But I can just take this, and Unity will sort of figure out the rest. And then you can tweak it for realism. So maybe you want to put a longer, blend on it. All right, see, that doesn't work. So you'd have to. Anyway, you get the idea. So you can start doing these Marvel superhero moves, stuff that you can't do in real life. But you're prevising it as an action designer. And then what you're going to do, what you're basically doing is you're creating action that they can then, the director and DP can look at that and they'll say, wait, that's genius. I'm going to take that to the CG department, to the VFX, make sure that they can do that. Of course, if you, as a dumb stunt coordinator, can do it, they can do it. So now you're creating moves using Unity. You're creating action. You're creating stuff that normally was only in their control. And now you're taking it upon yourself to say, okay, look, if I can do a flash kick into like a 720 hook, you can't, right? But with this, you can. And if you can do it in this, they can do it in their production too. So you're raising the bar for. You're not just raising the bar for previs doing this. You're raising the bar for action as a whole, because now you, as a coordinator, as the person doing the previs, now it's kind of in your head to figure out, like, well, wait a minute, let's think outside of the box. Maybe it's not a flash kick into it. Maybe it's not just a flash kick. Maybe it's a flash kick into whatever back sweep. So you get it. So when you're done editing your whole thing, and I'm probably missing a bunch of stuff, but you get the idea. Go over to Recorder. Export it as a video. You can do it also as a JPEG or a PNG series. For some reason I can't get that to work, but it doesn't matter for me. You hit start recording. That's when you're going to see a lot of the effects appear. And it'll export the whole thing into an MP4 file. And at that I'm going to close Unity because I think y'all get the idea now. And from there I took it and put it in Premiere. Did the sound design in there. Like I said, you could do the sound design in Unity, but I didn't have much success with that. There might be better plugins that you could use to do sound design in Unity, though. So don't discount it completely. It still could be used as an all-in-one tool. Unity can also be used as an all-in-one tool to edit individual movements in the motion capture. I'm not there yet, but it certainly seems like it's possible to do. So that's the long and short of it, right there. Saves a ton of time, like Jetpack Paul just said. Now, like I said, I've been working in Unity now for 6 months, like a madman. And Zach has heard my many nights where I'm saying, look, I for some reason everything just broke, and then I have to go, get support for it, and then I fix it, and then. Once I fix that, then I start doing like harder and harder things, and of course that's how you get good at stuff. So this is still there's still a steep learning curve. Like make no mistake, Unity is not something that you can just jump into and start using. It's very, having video editing experience and also having 3D experience in the past. Like I said, I've done a little bit, and tech experience, understanding the motion capture. You kind of have to know the whole process if you want to do stuff like this. But it's one of those things where if I can do it, I think anybody else can. Hey Yin, hey, you showed up, awesome. And yeah, it simplifies it in that it just aligns it much better than a live action previz process. Let's see, I'll take some more questions here. Let's see, we got a question from Giza Power Plant. What is the shortest or fastest previz you've done? Yeah, so I did answer that earlier, but here's one metric you could use, right? So when we, as I was learning Unity, I was editing these 3 previz scenes, and so they're 12 seconds each, right? And as I was learning Unity, I was doing this stuff. So I was taking a day each, and that's to do something that kind of looks okay, nice. I'm doing Cinemachine, depth of field, and I'm doing a lot of camera moves and stuff like that. And now that I know how to do it, it would probably take maybe 1 or 2 hours to do a 12-second scene. It really depends also on how complicated you want to make it. I mean, if you're just trying to give the director, an idea of what the action looks like, and he can pick all the camera angles, then your job's done pretty quickly. All you gotta do is import the assets and link the T-post figures to your FBX files, and then you're set to go. Make some timelines and stuff like that, and set up Cinemachine, and then he can just do it. But if you want to start shooting it yourself, and if you have very wild ambitions of how to shoot this thing, then you can take a ton of time. So there's no real way to know for sure, but generally speaking, I would say that if under the gun, I could probably do a 3-minute scene in a day. And it wouldn't be beautiful, it wouldn't be beautifully shot, but you'd kind of get the idea at least. Let's see, what else? What other questions we got here? Also, there is is it possible to change lenses of the cameras? Yeah, so yeah, Adam asks, is it possible to change lenses? Yeah, there's the depth of field in Cinemachine. You apply that to every camera, and you can start, you can do a depth of field that's specific to, you can make a lens of any focal length, any aperture, and you can then set the focal distance at any point. Or you can instead you can select a target in Unity, so the head, and it will automatically focus on that target, and it'll always keep that target in focus. Does it work with legacy versions of Unity? Does that have to be 2018 plus? I believe Cinemachine works in 2017, but don't quote me on that. Ability to clone yourself seems super convenient. Yeah, Malcolm Washington has a point here, because now, in the past when I was asked to create a previs for Man Who Feels No Pain with 4 main characters against 25 people, and I told the director, I was like, I can't. There's just not enough money to do that. That's 30 people in the room. I can split screen. I can do all these things, and so we ended up split screening, and it didn't really matter because it was just a reference video. But on a big project, they might be asking you that you need to previs a battle, and the battle's got 100 people, and as a stunt coordinator, you kind of gotta get maybe 30 people now, right? If you really want to make it look like you know what you're doing, if you really want the action scene to look like a battle scene, then you're probably gonna have to pull those numbers. Now, if you have just your 2 or 3 performers, that's all you need, because you can just duplicate that. You can do the mocap, as long as it's timed properly, and you have to come up with some kind of synchronization method. Maybe you play a reference audio. You can do that, and then you just do a minute each time. You do reference audio for a minute. It's these guys. Okay, cut. Let's do another one. Cut. And they do this all the time in an optical mocap, obviously. It's just now we're taking it into the previz level where you can just kind of do it in your office or in a gym. And again, I'll reiterate this, that this suit can be taken anywhere. And we did the mocap in a gym, and that's not because the gym is set up for mocap, it's because the suit can be taken anywhere. Like I was showing, the suit fits in here. This is the mocap system. It's right here. Okay? I can take this on an airplane with my backpack, and I'm ready to go. So you're talking about doing a previz, a 3viz service. So like if you were to do another Bollywood movie, you take your 3 performers. You take a Unity guy, you take a couple stunt guys who know the tech, and you take a bunch of Pelican cases of Extend suits, and you go over maybe 5 of them, and then you borrow a few stunt performers whenever you need them, and you can do battle scenes with 5 people or 3 people. It just depends on how you want to do it. So obviously direct interactions between characters, you're going to want that many people at least. So let's see what else. See what other questions we got coming in. Nathaniel asks, why is Steven Seagal your biggest... Oh, you got me. It's not my... No. Him? I met Steven Seagal once. I met him. He was making fun of the Chinese language. It was hilarious. Let's see. How long was this as a whole process? The process is ongoing because it was, we got these suits about 6 months ago, and ever since I've just been learning Unity, and I've learned it all. I've learned Unity mostly through tutorials online. Unity keeps updating and getting better, which means the tutorials get outdated, and there's a lot of language that I still don't understand, so it took me forever to solve simple problems. For example, I would import FBX files into the Unity project from Xends, and for some reason the hips weren't transforming. I had no idea why. There was nobody wrote anything about this. It seemed like it was either a huge bug or something that nobody was noticing, or something extremely simple. And I think it was the latter, because when I went and I edited the avatar for every animation clip, the hips just weren't set to anything. And I don't know if that's deliberate or what, but then I just set them to hips and it was fixed. That took an entire day. It shouldn't have taken an entire day. It should have taken 1 minute, because now I know. So next time it'll take a minute. Last time it took a day. It also goes, sometimes Cinemachine is still, there are still some things that, I sometimes break it without realizing it. I'll have, a camera angle here, and then I'll put another camera angle here, and I'll put another camera angle here, and I'll start blending, and the next thing I know, somehow I've shared a camera profile between 2 of them, and so whenever I change it over here, it goes away over here, and I change it, so then I'll waste hours doing that. So like the workflow just keeps getting better, and that's what happens with this stuff, is that as you learn the ins and outs of all these problems, the workflow just gets better over time, and then the software gets better too. It becomes less buggy. Could have been a naming convention. Yeah, you just never know. You never know, like, what's going on with this stuff. I mean, like, with video editing, it was so much simpler. The video editing issues that we used to have were, 24p dropping the wrong frame, and that had no solution. And often nobody could see it. Like, when the DVX first came out, it would do the drop frame for the 24p, and it was supposed to go A, B, I don't remember the order, but it was A, B, C, D, D, and it would drop D, and then you get 24 frames. Sometimes it would drop B, though. And I could see it, a lot of other people couldn't, and it was really jerky. There's no way to fix it, right? Then over the years, it just gets better, and then tapes go away, and that problem disappears, right? So some of these problems will probably just disappear with technology. I'm going to go earlier and see if there's, let's see. No other major questions right now. Okay. Is your beard the source of your power? No, it's just laziness. It's not cutting it is what it is. Rendering at 60 frames per second or 30. I rendered at 30 because it's a little bit more filmic, but I didn't want to do 24 because I wanted to maximize data. I actually like the look of 30 when it's progressive. We actually used to shoot in 30 deliberately. I used to shoot in 30 deliberately because you just get more information. One issue with shooting in 24 frames per second with a high shutter speed. When people do this with fight scenes, it drives me nuts, because when you have a high shutter speed, then you have no blur, right? So right now my webcam's got a lot of blur right now, right, because it's low light. But with with DSLRs, you get a lot of light in there, and suddenly you can you crank up the shutter speed. And so people are shooting fight scenes at 500, 1/500 is zero motion blur, 24 frames per second, and it looks like Bourne Identity chaos. And what happens is that like punches don't connect very well when you don't have blur, right? So suddenly you have what'll happen is a punch will go from here to here with no blur in between, right? With no blur in between, you can't get the right impact. It'll just be 1, 2, and then there's a reaction that happens somewhere in between. So I recommend, and this is kind of a broader action tip was when you're shooting fight scenes, please just try and keep the shutter at 1/100 or less. I don't know. Between 1/50 and 1/100 is really good for hand-to-hand fights. Motion blur is a good thing. Please consider it. But then with 30 frames per second, the punch will be here, and then it might be here too, and then here, right? So then you actually get all the data that you need to convince the audience that you actually got punched. Any issues with frame being skipped on the contact frames? Yeah, and that's exactly the point. Yeah, because if you're talking about live action, yeah, that's the issue I'm talking about. I'm trying to think of any other issues we've had. The markers pretty much stay where they are. These gloves are, these are stock with the XN software. When doing action, these are obviously going to come off at some point, right? So you can wrap these, figure out your own way of doing it. The headband, it can come off too, and then that'll, then you got to recalibrate, fix that, do your own thing, put a hat on, do something. You have to be creative, with your usage of this stuff. And so, other than that, though, I mean, if the pack is on the back, doesn't have to be there. You could probably move to the front if you're resourceful. You can find a way to do that. It doesn't seem very difficult to do. And then you can do your backfall, right? Because the battery's back there too. And I have fallen on the pack and it's come disconnected, and you got to do a software reset and all that, and then you lose 20 minutes of time or so. And that kind of stuff, that's why we keep running through these tests to learn about the physical things that you can and can't do. And by and large, we're finding that it's not very restrictive. There's no marker swapping like you find in optical stages, because those are all Velcro, and you're going to swap markers and you got to reset. But when you have to reset the entire system to recalibrate them, that can suck away time too. So that's been a big part of our testing, is figuring out how far can we push this thing, how hard can we go physically. Somebody asked how many performers. I believe you can have 8 performers via one router, but then you can have multiple routers. Then you might get crosstalk because it's Wi-Fi. But you're probably safe with 8. So let's see. Could you render in a lower frame rate and touch it up into a higher one? I mean, you can render out from Unity in any standard frame rate. I mean, I wouldn't be doing that from Unity though. I wouldn't be doing that in the rendering part. I would be doing that within the animation itself. I would just go into the animation and, I need to learn Maya so that I can actually edit these things, and I'll just fix the animation in that. Then I can just render it out as 24p and it'll look perfect, right? That's the goal, so that you can actually touch up animation across the right. You need to do it at the right times. You don't want to be touching up animation using the frame rate. I don't think that's a good idea, because you want to keep it at a solid 2997 or 23976 all the time. You don't want to deviate from that. You don't want to go into weird frame rates. You also don't want to suddenly drop frames. I hate that. I think it's cheap. People like me see it, and you don't want to mess with me. Chin straps. Yeah, chin straps would work to keep this on. You can actually make a hat for this, but chin strap. I hate chin straps. Can you guess why? Okay. Thank you all for watching this. This has been
awesome, very exciting. You know, I know there hasn't been much activity on the YouTube channel in the past almost year, except for these little mocap things that come out now and then. But I mean, we're just really excited about this, you know, and we're uh, we're 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 looking to do, you know, we're opening up a studio, and you know, we are passionate about doing action and mixing tech with it. That's really what we're trying to do, because the issue that I kept finding in the tech world, in the motion capture world, and in the stunt world, is that like tech and stunts don't really communicate. They're the really successful stunt guys out there are the guys that kind of are able to harness camera technology or editing technology or something and combine it with the stunt world and be that communication chain between the two. That like is a winning formula. And you know, when I found this system, I was like, okay, that was the connection between stunts and this game development slash CG world, right? And being able to speak that language to stunt performers, and then being able to then communicate it back to developers. I mean, it's a huge skill. I think a lot of a lot of people in my generation who were coming up in, you know, the early days of the internet, we had to make our own websites, we had to edit our own stuff, we had to figure all this stuff out, right? We had to get, you know, we had to pull all the stops just to get our video online. And in the process, we learned about all this tech, right? We learned how to make websites. We learned how to code sometimes. And so, you know, a lot of us out there now are going like, well, how do we expand our skills beyond just the domain of just stunts and even just filmmaking, right? Because game development is huge right now. It's outpacing film. And in terms of opportunities out there, like they're exploding. Every game company is just hiring dozens and dozens of people all the time, and sometimes they don't even know that there's a position that they could hire for, right? Like every possibility that they could hire an action performer or like an action coordinator full time, or maybe as a vendor who provides motion capture provides motion capture files, previz, prototyping, anything like that. And like now, that's exactly what we're doing, is we're becoming a vendor for these companies, and so we're really excited about doing that, and we're going to keep testing it because, you know, the my mantra since the beginning has been, if you don't have content, you don't exist. And that's why we keep putting these 3viz videos out. When we put out these little test videos, they seem small. It's like a 1 minute here, 1 minute there, but this is the proof is in the pudding. Is how I see it, because you know, we're doing it, and this is how it's done. That was really redundant, but oh well. All right, thanks, and God bless you all, and we'll be seeing more of this stuff soon.